Good morning and welcome to Channel 44. It's a beautiful morning here at the Miracle Center Cathedral. I am Mercy Gashegu Sembatia to bring you this morning's news update live on Channel 44. We'll start with what's happening around us in Uganda. Members of Parliament okay minister's censure process. Namuganza refuses to apologize to Parliament over misconduct. Details are in today's New Vision. And then Prime Minister and Chief Justice reconcile. Here, Robin Anabanja, who is the Prime Minister of Uganda, is seen with Justice Alphonse Owiny-Dollo shaking hands after a reconciliation meeting held at the High Court in Kampala yesterday. Details are on page 11 of today's New Vision. And also, First Lady meets a new MTN CEO. Mrs. Museveni has welcomed the new CEO and commended MTN's corporate social responsibility, which has improved communities. Moving on, UPDF soldiers promoted. They bring you the list of those that have been promoted in today's New Vision. And also President Museveni speaks out on economy. They bring you a series when Uganda received the first batch of HIV drugs, and there are many tenders and job opportunities in today's New Vision. Get yourself a copy and see how you can improve yourself or get a job opportunity in Uganda here. And off to the Daily Monitor. Court strikes out acting judge jobs. Despite the Constitutional Court ruling, the justices clarified that the judgments and the decisions that the 16 affected judges have so far passed while in office will not be rendered null and void. It's in today's Daily Monitor. U.S. links visa denials to fraud. And in other stories, fight to oust UMA's Oledo takes new twist. The Uganda Medical Association President Dr. Samuel Odongo Oledo has been asked to step aside to pave the way for an independent investigation into his conduct. The Supreme Court Judge Awere is dead. Ruby Opio Awere died yesterday of stroke, just a year to his retirement from judicial services. May his soul rest in eternal peace. And then opposition demands naming and prosecution of thieving officials. And Namuganza faces censure. And then also Chief Justice Dollo and Premier Nabanja reconcile at the High Court yesterday. There are job opportunities in today's Daily Monitor as well. Get yourself a copy. You could be blessed having job opportunities in different places. Well, right now, let's look at today's international news update. The Humanitarian Commission in Southern Sudan has strongly condemned the ongoing violence in the oil-producing Upper Nile state in the northern part of the country. They are calling for the hostilities to cease immediately in order to reduce human suffering and prevent further loss of innocent lives. The UN Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, reported yesterday that more than 9,100 people were displaced following the recent surge of violence in Fashoda County. The renewed clashes between armed youth have also resulted in civilian deaths and injuries, abduction of women and children, and the destruction of properties and livelihoods. There were also reports of incidences of gender-based violence. It did not provide details regarding casualties, but local media reported that countless numbers of people were killed in the renewed violence in southern Sudan. And in South Africa, the tourism minister Lindiwe Sisulu has called on the president to resign. Cyril Ramaphosa is facing allegations that he covered up the theft of a huge sum of money from his farm. The controversy comes ahead of next month's ANC conference, with the president seeking a second term in office. Ms. Sisulu, who says she wants the top job herself, told the press that Mr. Ramaphosa should step down as he was holding the whole party to ransom. Next week, Parliament is due to discuss the issue, and the president, who denies any wrongdoing, could potentially face impeachment. Moving on, an exhibition in Eritrea's disappeared former government officials and journalists has been launched in the UK Parliament. On Tuesday, members of Parliament from the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Eritrea called for the release of the disappeared and improvement of human rights in Eritrea. Lord Alton of Liverpool, who has been critical of Eritrea's human rights situation, said the exhibition would help highlight the plight of the missing. Among those detained since September 2001 are former senior ministers, members of the now suspended National Assembly, and senior military generals. The group of officials known as the G15 wrote an open letter demanding accountability and democratic reforms. And elsewhere, the United Nations Biodiversity Chief says global talks are underway in Montreal, the last chance to reverse the destruction of the natural world. Biodiversity is the foundation of life. Without it, there is no life, according to Elizabeth Maruma. She is worried about the amount of work still needed for the 196 countries to reach an agreement. The Global Biodiversity Framework, if agreed, represents fundamental change. It is the nature equivalent of the Paris Agreement and international treaty to limit global temperature rise and arrest the climate crisis. And in Europe, Vladimir Putin has said the threat of a nuclear war was rising, but insisted Russia had not gone mad and would not use its nuclear weapons first. The Russian president insisted that his country would only use weapons of mass destruction in response to an attack. Speaking at Russia's annual Human Rights Council meeting, he also said the war in Ukraine could be a lengthy process. Western officials believe Putin initially planned for a rapid victory. Russia's capacity to use nuclear weapons has come under increased scrutiny since it invaded Ukraine on February the 24th. Elsewhere, 25 people have also been arrested in raids across Germany on suspicion of plotting to overthrow the government. The group of far-right and ex-military figures are said to have prepared for a day X to storm the parliament building and seize power. A man named Heinrich from an old aristocratic family is alleged to have been central to their plans. According to federal prosecutors, he is one of the two alleged ringleaders among those arrested across 11 German states. The plotters are said to include members of the extremist citizens of the Reich movement, which has long been in the sight of German police over violent attacks and racist and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. And in Bali, after the deadly bombings on 2 Bali nightclubs in 2002, some survivors say they got a life sentence. On Wednesday, the man who crafted the bombs that killed Mr. Sabi's friends left him a double amputee and was freed from an Indonesian prison, which he says is very, very unfair. Indonesia says Umar Patek has been de-radicalized, but his parole has sparked anger, particularly in Australia, where 88 victims were from. Some 202 people from 21 nations were killed in the blasts on the 12th of October that year. It remains Indonesia's deadliest terror attack. And finally, Peru has a female president for the first time after ex-president Pedro Castillo was impeached hours after he tried to dissolve parliament. Dina Boluarte, previously the vice president, was sworn in after a dramatic day in Lima yesterday. Earlier in the day, Mr. Castillo had said he was replacing the Congress with an exceptional emergency government, but lawmakers ignored this and in an emergency meeting impeached him. He was then detained and accused of rebellion. Reports in local media say he was heading to the Mexican embassy in the capital when he was arrested. Well, that brings us to the end of this morning's news update. Thank you for watching Channel 44. I remind you of the Christmas Karamoja dinner that is happening on Monday next week. Please join us, buy a table, invite your friends. A table is 1 million shillings each. is 1 million shillings a table. So please join us and be a blessing to the people of Karamoja this Christmas. We started on a mission to better their lives, and this is a great opportunity for us to bless the people of Karamoja. Remember, they are our own, and we are salvaging the situation of hunger that is in the northeastern region. Join us by sending your seed or booking a table. Each table goes for 1 million shillings. Once again, we'll look forward to seeing you. We'll meet again at 12:45. The Pastors Now program is up next. God bless you and good morning.